Hi, I'm Kelly from Kelly Jewellery. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this pendant. I've put a list in the description below of everything you'll need to make it, including all the usual links. We've got Facebook and Instagram on there. To make this pendant you'll need 20 gauge square wire, and I've cut 4 lengths at 8 inches, that's 20 centimetres, and 20 gauge half round wire. So I've got 1 length of 4 inches and 2 lengths at 3 inches. So that's 10 centimetres and 7.5 centimetres. And you'll need a bit of weaving wire, so that's 0.315mm 28 gauge. And you'll need about 200 centimetres. Wound mine onto a bobbin. This is a Bobeeze bobbin by Beadsmith. If you don't have one of these, don't worry. This is just to stop longer lengths of wire from flailing about everywhere. If you want to use round wire, then that would be 0.8mm on the 20 gauge, and then you can replace these half round pieces of wire with a bit of weaving wire and just do a short weave over the section instead of wrapping it in the half round. You'll need a small oval cab for this one. Mine's 20mm by 12. If you want to use a larger stone, then you can, or a slightly different shape. You could use a round stone if you wanted to. Just remember to adjust your wire lengths and your weave repeats accordingly. Can't catch it now. So tools, I've got my pliers, just your standard pliers. I have put a list in the description below of all the tools that I use if you want to look more into what the particular ones that I'm using. So I've got my pliers, round nose pliers, wire cutters and nylon pliers. If you don't have nylon pliers, don't worry. I just like these for straightening the wires, flattening any weaves. I just find them quite handy to have. And today I'm going to be using bail pliers. If you don't have bail pliers, then you could just need something like a pencil or something that kind of size just to bend the weaves over for the bail. So take your 4 wires, find the centre of those wires, and then take the longer length of half round wire. I'm going to position the flat side against the wire. We're just going to wrap around those wires to tie them together. So if you're using round wire, you want to grab a bit of weaving wire and just weave across all of the wires just to hold them all together. And we'll wrap around and around that wire. I like to just flatten it off with the nylon pliers. Don't worry if you don't have any. And then we just need to cut those ends. Please watch to the end because I've just done a funky little thank you video from me and Gracie. I'm quite pleased with, so do watch to the end and watch my little video I've added on there. So now we're going to shape this around our stone. So I'm just going to bend it a little bit just to get it started and decide which way up you want your stone to be. Move to a flat surface because it is a bit easier if you do it to a flat surface. So you want to bend your wires around your stone, but you want that wrapped bit to be right at the bottom there. I'm using 20 gauge wires. If you use 21, they're a bit easier to handle. I haven't got any. I've just ordered some actually from Rio. So I need to just slide that round a little bit to get it nice and central. So I buy my square wire from Rio Grande, however you guys say it. So we just want to wrap the wires around the stone there. I'm using copper as well. You can use whatever you like. So now we'll take the stone away for a minute. And we're going to look at these very front wires. The 2 front wires. And I'm just going to cross them over each other. that when they sit on the stone, so when they cross over the stone, they're going to sit nicely over the top of the stone there. And then if you can hold that section and just bring the wires back around, it never does look how you think it's gonna, and the wires do dictate what you do a lot of the times. I'm going to try and bring the wires together there at the top. So have your top two wires separate at the moment. We'll deal with those in a minute. And we're going to bend the rest of the wires around the stone. So position it back onto your stone. Try and ignore those top wires for a moment, if you can. I'm just going to bend these back wires nicely around the stone at the top there. Now where they meet the top of the stone, I'm going to just straighten them back up. And I'll do it on this side too. Try not to let them cross over each other, which they are trying to. And then we straighten those up. I'm going to get the pliers in there. So we're ignoring the front wires for a bit. I'm going to pull that one over there. Pull that one over there. This will make sense in just a moment. I'm just trying to shape the rest of them at the moment. So these need to go that way, like that. So we've got a shape that goes around the stone like that. So now looking at that the front two wires, holding all the back in place still, we're just going to scoop these front wires around to join onto the rest so it meets there and joins into the wire, and we'll do the same for the other side. Bring it around so you've got like this nice shape on the top, and the wires all come together and meet at the top. So you've got this shape, the wires are wrapped by 3, and you've got this little figure 8 on the front. So looking at the back wires there, so we've got 3 on each side. Take your shorter length of the half round wire, and we're going to wrap around the 3 wires. And we just want to hold them all together. Again, if you're using round, you just need to strap them together with the weaving wire. So do a little weave across the 3 wires. I think we just need 3 or 4 wraps around there. And I'm going to slide it down. So I haven't wrapped too tight. I'm going to slide it down so it sits at the bottom there. Cut that off at both sides. I'm trying to cut it so the ends are behind the wire, and then slide that down over that bend, and we just want it to be just before that bend there. Just to hold it together there. I'm going to do the same on the other side. So on the other 3 wires, take your other piece of half round and do the same thing. So I'm going to pull this back wire down a little bit just to make a little gap there. I'm going to take the weaving wire and I'm going to wrap 3 times around that back wire. and slide it down as far as I can. So now I'm going to wrap around the whole thing, and you just need to make sure that those front wires are nice and crossed and in a nice place. So it's going to go around the whole thing, and the crossover is just there at the front. Go around about 3 times. So now looking at the front 2 wires, they're nice and wide apart, and you're looking at the next 2 wires, we'll put those apart as well, and then the last 4 we're just going to bend to the back a little bit so they're out the way for now. So we're just working across those front wires. I'm going to bring this wire up between the 2 and just weaving across these 2 wires on this side. So I've gone around that top wire, then I'll go around the bottom wire, and then we'll go once around both wires. So that's the repeat. So you come up between the 2, over the top wire, around the bottom wire, and then around both wires, and we're going to repeat that a few more times. Please mention me when you're sharing your work online, a Kelly Jones design, and please don't show images of the back as it gives the design away. Thanks to everybody who does already, I really appreciate it. So I have done about 2.5 centimetres of weave on that one side, and I'm going to finish with a few wraps around the one side. Keep pushing your weave together as you go. Really important, just keep pushing your weave together as you go to keep it all nice and tidy. And you've got to try and keep your wires straight as well if you're using the square. So I'm gonna weave now on the other side and do exactly the same weave on that side, and I need this weaving wire, so I'm going to cut it, but I'm going to leave a little bit still attached just in case I want to add or take more weave repeats. So I just leave a little bit still attached on there. Can always cut it off in a bit. So now try and level it up a bit. I'm going to do the same weave just over these 2 wires here. That same weave, I've got to go and try and find my weaving. So wrap a couple of times around one of the wires. Slide it down into place. I think I want that at the back actually. And we're not involving these wires at the minute, so I do want to just pull them out the way for now. So slide that down. Going to do the same weave that we just did. So slide it down as far as it will go, and then we go around both wires, come up between, around the top wire, and then around the bottom wire, and off we go. So same weave as we just did, wrap once around both, then around the top and then around the bottom. We'll do about 2.5 centimetres on this side as well so they match up. So I've done 2.5 of that weave on that side as well. So I need to cut off these tail ends at the bottom there. And always make sure that you flatten down any cut ends with your pliers. So now we're going to take, we want the back 2 wires to go back. We're going to leave those, but we want these middle 2 wires here. Now I'm going to pull these weaves out a little bit further just so they're out the way. And what I'm going to do with these 2, because I'm working with square, I'm going to twist them so that they'll be nice and pretty. If you twist square wire, it does look quite nice. If you're using round wire, You can either leave these wires bare, or you could just make them look a little bit different. You could add coils, so take your weaving wire and wrap around and around. You can see those lovely twists starting to take shape now. So I'm going to do that with the other wire too, so I'll do that with both of those middle wires. So I've done both of those middle wires. I'm going to leave this just for a second and go back to fitting the stone into the bottom before we bring this round into a bale. So make sure your stone is the way up that you want it to be and position it back into place. Turn to the back. We're going to grab that back wire and we're going to pull it over the stone a little, just to make a gap on the sides there. My bottom wraps have moved, so I just slid them back centrally. You want to make sure that's central. It might make it look a little bit wonky when it's done. I know everything handmade does have a little wonky edge to it. I keep sliding it over. So make sure it's nice and central, and then grab that wire with your pliers. We're just going to twist it over a little bit so it grips onto the stone. I've twisted it up at the bottom and over at the top. It just needs to hold the stone in from the back. And I'm going to do the same on this side if I can get in there. So I'm just going to bend it up at the bottom and over at the top. So your stone is held in from the back. My wire moved again and I'm a little bit wonky. So just make sure those back wires pull nicely over the back of the stone. Then you want to pull your side wires over a bit, so they're holding the stone in at the sides. And hopefully you're not rushing like I do on this video, and you can take your time over it a little bit more. But that's our stone in for now. So now looking back at these weaves at the top, make sure they're all properly compressed down. I'm sure this weave on this side keeps growing. And then what we're going to do, imagine the centre of the weave. We're going to bend that in. And do the same on this side as well. So you've got this diamond shape at the top. We're going to do a similar thing with the ears. Just scoop them a little into that shape, and the same with that one. Sorry, I keep reaching out for more space. And then at the top where the wires meet, we're going to bend them back out. So if I bend this one out, then you'll be able to see what I've done. So I bent them out so they meet at the top like that. And then where these two meet, so then where these two meet, I've just adjusted my wire shapes a little. I'm going to bend that out too, so that they are now the middle wires. And they all now meet across the top there. So we've got a quite nice open, sort of spacey, lacy bail. So this short piece of wire from earlier, we can cut that off now because that was plenty long enough, that weave on that side. Now we're just going to do a quick weave across all of the wires just to hold everything together. So because of where the wire is positioned, I've come up around the top curly wire, twisted wire, and I'll go around that wire. Then I'll come underneath the next twisty wire and go around that one. Then I'll come straight underneath the bottom wire. So I'll go once around the bottom two, come up in between those two. Then I'll go around the next two, come up in between those two. Go around the next two, come up between, and keep doing that. Around the next two, come up between, and around the top two, come up between. Then go around each wire on the way back down. So I've gone around those two, then I'll go around that curly one, twisty one, then around the bottom twisty one, then around the second one, then around the bottom one. That just holds everything together. Push it all down. And we'll finish with a few wraps around that bottom wire just so it doesn't come undone. Before we shape that bail, I want you to take these two back wires and separate them out to the sides. Bring them quite out straight for now. And then take your bail pliers. So you're going to need bail pliers. If you don't have bail pliers, you can use anything this kind of shape. I think I'm going to go for the smaller size. So you'll need like a crochet hook, about a size 5 crochet hook, or a knitting needle, or maybe a slim paintbrush or something, whatever you've got handy. A little slim pen. I think it's smaller than a pencil, but we're just going to wrap around the bail. That's really quite tough to wrap around because it's square wire. And I'm pushing the front back, so I'm pulling the bail forward a little bit just so it gives it a bit of shape as it comes together. And I want to shape these wires a little bit because I want that to come a little bit more forward than that. So you can see that nice shape we've got there with the bail. I think I'm just gonna twist that around a little bit more. And then I'm just going to shape these wires so that they're a little bit more on show. So that's what we've got so far. So I think I'm going to cut off that weaving wire. I think I'm done with that for now. And the swirly curly wires, the twisty ones, I'm going to just cut those short and finish them as little curls at the back. So now I'm going to take the middle wire on both sides and pinching it there, pinching the bail to the front to hold it steady, bringing these wires over to the front. So one has gone higher and one has gone lower, and the higher one goes up and around, and the bottom one goes below and around. I'll try and scoop them around. So they're going to kind of interlock in the middle, but you don't want to pull that bail out of place. So I'm going to bring them around. And I'm going to bring this wire around, and I'm going to take this wire also around. Sometimes as you work in a pre-made design, as the wires take shape, you can kind of see how it would look prettier if you did something slightly different. So I'm going to go for this swirly curly instead on the front. I much prefer that. And then this top wire is going to wrap around the weave there. So I'm going to cut it short. And holding it in place, I'm going to bend it around that weave and then just squeeze it to the weave. And this bottom wire, I'm going to bend it around to go over the side there, and that will secure around the neck of the pendant. So I want to bring it around. I don't want to misshape it too much. Daisy, and then just take it around the side there. That's Gracie snoring, if you can hear all that noise. I'm sure if I was using a thinner gauge wire, this would be much easier to handle. So I've just wrapped it around that wire there. I still want to keep a gap at the bottom of the shape, and then I'll secure that around that wire and cut it off nice and short. This wire is going to follow it around, and so is this one going to follow it around. But I think I'm going to just make these wires a little bit different by just adding a twist. So I've twisted both of these two wires, and this has ended up looking nothing like what I first planned it was going to. So this one follows this side, and this one follows this side. So that one is going to end around that top weave, and this one is going to change the shape a little bit. Is going to finish around that wire there. I might take it straight around the back and finish around the back wire because it's a little bit longer. So I want it a little bit higher there. And then to come around. So we're spiralling. Come around like that. And then that will go around the back, so give that a good squeeze. And then this one, we want this one spiraling as well, so it comes in here and it's apart a little bit there. So it's going to go around that weave. Whoops. Don't know my own strength. So I've attached that one to that back wire. I need to cut those off short. And this one, I think I'm going to make this into a little curl there. So I need to cut that wire off short too. And then I need to curl some wires. I'll put a little curl in that top one. And I'll put 2 little curls in those back wires there at the top. And now I've got 2 remaining wires, and you can do whatever you want with this. As you can see, we've got a lot of decoration on the front there. So I think if I bring them to the front, I'm just going to add too many wires. So I'm just going to take them to the back. And bring them straight down and around to the back. You can do whatever you want with these final wires. You can guess what I'm going to do. I'm going to just add a little bit of weaving wire to pin them together, and I'm going to finish them off into 2 little tiny curls at the back there, just to add a little detail to the back. I do love how shiny this wire looks in this light. It doesn't look copper, it's definitely copper. So I've wrapped a few times around this wire, slide it around. Ouch. Then I'll go a few times around both wires. And then I'll go around this wire here. Cut those wires and cut the base wires. Cut the weaving wires, cut the base wires, make them into little curls there at the back. Cut my wires, curled my wires, and I just need to run and oxidize it. So there we have it, finished. So thanks for watching another one of my videos. Please subscribe and hit the notification icon if you want to be notified of new videos that I do. Please like and comment on this video and let me know what you thought. If you want to see my written tutorials, they're over on Etsy. You'll find the link below. There might even be a link on the screen. And I will see you all in the next video. This is Gracie, if you didn't know. See you in the next one. Bye.